My internet is fine on my computers now, so it's wonky. Can't stand it when it's wonky. Sorry guys. Oh, I hope you can all hear me, and I hope that you've not all rushed off and disappeared and thought, well, sod this. This is why I had on my previous stream put a link up to my what's it page, my GoFundMe page, so that I could hopefully get some donations so that I can buy some decent equipment. So bear with me guys as I get this going again. Maybe I can paste there. Will it come up? Yes, it has. Okay, let's see. Hi Pete, I'm so glad you found me because I've had technical issues again. So I'm gonna have to, hi Andrea, you found me. Yeah, I had to do another thumbnail and it's, yeah. So I hope everybody manages to find me. If they don't, then this will be obviously saved and people can watch it in their own time. It's working for you, fine, good. It was buffering, Pete. It was on the original live that I went on, it was just buffering. I was just seeing buffering. Checked my Wi-Fi, it's not my Wi-Fi. I think it was my phone. Mikey, hi, good to have you back. Right, so where did I start? Where did I finish? Working now, brilliant trip. Lovely that you've joined me again. I'm so sorry, guys. I really am. I've put, if you have a look at the first comment in the chat, I've put my GoFundMe page in there. If you do want to make a donation, that would be wonderful. Giving the trigger warning and about to get cracking. Yeah. So I've got that there. I am trying to raise funds so that I can buy a proper camera, a proper microphone and proper software so that I can actually, present more professional and hopefully non-buffering videos and live streams. Right, so as I said, trigger warning, very sensitive subject matter here, and with borderline personality disorder, it is, I don't want to say it's one of the worst of the mental illness or mental disabilities, but it's certainly one of the most difficult to deal with. Now, I have it, and I have over the years experienced so much on that borderline personality disorder that when I was diagnosed with it, because I have bipolar disorder, I have anxiety, I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and BPD, borderline personality disorder. Pete, this is what happens when Graham trains you in multimedia. No, Graham hasn't trained me in multimedia. I've done this all on my own. It's when a woman trains herself in multimedia, that's when it gets a bit pants. So yeah, borderline personality disorder. I've got the wrong place, diagnostic statistical manual. I've got it up on the OU library, but this is one of the books that I'm studying from. I know it's backwards to you guys because I'm recording this on my phone. And so this is actually my first delve into the book and using it specifically for what it's meant for. So I am not diagnosing anybody with borderline personality disorder. You would need to go and see a therapist, psychologist or psychiatrist to get that disorder, that you are recognized with that disorder. I cannot do that. Definitely not live. It will be something that I'll be able to do when I get my degree, which hopefully shouldn't be too long. So it is one of the cluster B personality disorders, and there are certain criteria for this. And I'm going to go through the criteria first of all, so you can maybe you might want to make some notes on this and tick off, maybe this is what, you suffer with, or maybe you've had experiences of this. And then I'm going to give you an example of how you can change your behavior, because borderline personality disorder is all about recognizing the triggers and reacting differently to those triggers. And it is borderline personality disorder basically stems from a huge fear of being abandoned. So it could come from childhood. So the diagnostic criteria for BPD, it's a pervasive pattern of instability of interpersonal relationships, self-image and affects, and marked impulsivity, beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts, as indicated by 5 or more of the following. So what that means is that your relationships with other people will be strained, will be difficult. Perhaps you have a really poor self-image. And that affects you in a way that brings you to impulsive decisions very, very quickly. So you could be okay, and one thing happens in the negative, and just like that, you have lost it. So there's not even a sort of build up to it. It just happens immediately. And they say by early adulthood, and it can present in a variety of contexts. So yeah, I would say when I possibly started with this, I think I was a child. And I'll talk about that in a bit. So the first one is frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. Okay, so you could be in a relationship with a person. Let's say it's a romantic relationship, doesn't matter with whom. And something happens, you have an argument or a disagreement, and you lose it. And you feel that they're going to leave you. You may just have that fear because it's something that's happened to you in the past. But you fear that you're going to lose contact with that person. I remember one day sitting in class at school. I was in geography class, and my mum and dad had gone on holiday. We're talking, I'm the Gen X generation. I started babysitting the next door's kids when I was about 5 or 6. And that's what we did back then. Obviously that doesn't happen anymore, but my parents had gone away and me and my sister were at home on our own, and I had this awful feeling that they were going to be in a car accident. And I started crying in class because of that. And I just had this feeling. So, is it real? No. Was it imagined? Yes. But I felt as if they had gone. Guys, if you are watching, if you could give me a like, that would be great. Thanks. It just gets, seen a little bit more on the algorithm. Number 2, a pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized by alternating between extremes of idealization and devaluation. So if you have borderline personality disorder, you probably have some very, very difficult relationships with friends and family. You may notice that or feel sort of insecure with them. You may notice that they say something and you may take it the wrong way, or you think that it's like this when it's actually not. Now, don't forget, guys, in order to be diagnosed with BPD, you have to have 5 or more of these. So 1 doesn't mean that you are borderline personality disorder. It means that you may have that trait, and it is something that you can work on. So idealization would be you idealize a certain relationship and you want it to be that way, but then there's this fear that creeps in and you decide to push that person away. Identity disturbance, markedly and persistently unstable self-image and sense of self. And that comes in where you hate yourself, where you actually do not like who you are at all, and you feel that you are unloved by anybody, and you don't love yourself either. It's an incredibly difficult place to be in. And again, it's a trigger that sets that off. It's something that sets that off that happens around you. Impulsivity in at least 2 areas that are potentially self-damaging. For example, spending money, intercourse, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating, etc. This does not include unaliving. Okay, that's a completely separate thing here. But if you have found that you spend a lot of money without thought and then realize, whoops, if you are having unprotected and, lots of varied intercourse, substance abuse, whether that's alcohol or drugs, at least, Andrea, Temu's pretty cheap. So you're not going to like designer fashion stores and buying like Gucci bags and stuff. So at least with Temu, it's not too bad. Reckless driving. People who have borderline personality disorder are possibly the ones that get angry in traffic, get that road rage, and then they start to drive erratically. Or they may have somebody in the car with them who they are having a difference of opinion with, and they often put the foot down and drive fast to scare that person. Because again, it's a self-hatred that we have with this illness. Then we have recurrent unaliving behavior, gestures or threats, or self-mutilating behavior. So I have tried to unalive myself about 11 times in my life, different methods, different times, different triggers. And I used to cut and I used to hit myself. And through my therapy, I don't do that anymore, but through my therapy, I realized that I was doing it because I felt I deserved to be punished for something that I'd done wrong, perhaps for losing my temper and doing something wrong. Then I need to be punished. And this stems from childhood behavior as well. So this stems from, being punished by a parent as a child. So you've done something wrong. Let's say you are 3, 4, 5 years old, you have a temper tantrum, and your parent, whichever one it is, gives you a good hiding. I don't think that's allowed these days, but back when I was a kid, it was. And that is then ingrained into you as a child. It's learned behavior. So you learn that you do something wrong, and then where's the punishment? So you begin to punish yourself. Another thing that borderline personality people do is threats of unaliving. So not actually just unaliving, but threats of. And it is an automatic thought when something goes wrong. So this week I've had numerous things go wrong, but I'm going to refer to the car breaking down in the Tesco car park on Wednesday, I think it was. And normally with BPD, if I'd have had a BPD reaction, I probably would have smashed the car to pieces. I would have sworn, I would have shouted, the police would probably have been called, I would have smashed the steering wheel, I would have lost it completely. And my first thoughts would have been, this always happens to me, why does it always happen to me? I don't deserve to live. That is the thought process of that borderline personality disorder. So you quickly move from that being okay to, whoa, being so not okay. Or you can actually attempt the unaliving. Now that's also part of bipolar disorder, so that's a whole different illness, but the two are often very, very closely linked. So often people with bipolar have borderline, and often people with borderline have bipolar. So the two do go hand in hand. In fact, people with a mental health diagnosis often have more than one. That is, the brain works in different ways for different people, and it's all about chemical imbalances, but also borderline personality disorder is learned behavior. A lot of it is learned behavior and how we react to it. Affective instability due to a marked reactivity of mood, for example, intense episodic dysphoria, irritability or anxiety, usually lasting a few hours and only rarely more than a few days. So for me, this can go either way. My dysregulated mood can last days on my BPD, not BPD, sorry, bipolar disorder. It's the same initials. Whereas with borderline, it can be short-lived. Anxiety of perhaps going out, fear of going out. Trip, close that app. Yeah, I agree, Andrea, close that app. Charity shops, secondhand stores. So anxiety may be you are going for a job interview and your anxiety is intense. Perhaps you get to the job interview and you decide you can't go through with it, so you leave, and that anxiety immediately goes. Chronic feelings of emptiness. I call it melancholy. I often feel that just this nothing, just this void, just that I don't belong anywhere. Inappropriate, intense anger or difficulty controlling anger. Frequent displays of temper, constant anger, recurrent physical fights. And that could be with friends, with family, or with strangers. So the smallest thing will trigger you into being incredibly, incredibly angry. And it will push you to the point of physical violence, whether that is breaking something or harming another person. And these triggers that trigger you can be minor to major. I've found with my own experiences that for me, it has been the minor that trigger me more than the major. The major, I just sort of get through and then break down afterwards. But the minor stuff, that stays with me. Transient stress-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms. So if you're stressed and you feel that people are watching you, for example, it could be moving quickly. You may feel fine one day, but not the next day. Transient stress-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms. So dissociation is when you dissociate from yourself. You go into another place. You ignore what's going on around you. It's the Timu app, Andrea. It's the Timu app. So stress-related paranoid ideation, as I mentioned before, the thought of going for a job interview and you're stressed and now you're paranoid as well. Am I dressed right for the job? Is my hair right? What are they going to say? Are they going to think I'm this? Are they going to think I'm that? And it's your thinking is more about what they are thinking of you. Meanwhile, most people aren't. Most people have got so much stuff going off in their own head that they're not even considering you. So, right, this is quite a lengthy chapter. So what I'm going to do is talk about a book that is really good for BPD and for helping you to, it's a workbook, and it helps you to sort of understand your own borderline personality disorder. And it's by Daniel J. Fox, PhD. He's American. He is brilliant. He has his own channel. So if you want to go and watch a couple of his videos, he is brilliant when it comes to BPD. I bought this book and I went and commented, and he commented back, and he has, you know, quite a substantial amount of subscribers. So it's, yeah, and it's worth buying this, because I was diagnosed with BPD recently, a few years ago, and I thought, what? Never been told this before. And then automatically it shows up on your NHS record, so it's not going to get taken off. It will always be there. And a lot of employers will not employ people with BPD for the reasons that I'm going to explain to you in a moment. Trip, sounds like when I used to smoke too much paranoid weed as a kid. Yeah, it is similar to that, but it's overwhelming. At least if you're stoned, you know that it's going to go away when you sort of, you know, get out of that place. But with borderline personality disorder, it doesn't really go away. So if you've got a piece of paper and a pen, you might want to write some of these down. I went through all of this and made notes in here, sort of working through it to see, am I really BPD? No, we can't hear you, Andrea. We can't hear you at all. You're not on my live stream. You're not on my live stream. Right, so do you have frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment? Tick, if you do. Thoughts of, like I said about in my geography class when I was a kid, just imagining my parents being in a car accident and being alone. I mean, I have a sister, but, you know, I was the older sister, so I would be the one doing the looking after, which I did anyway. You know, I think most big sisters and big brothers do that. So that fear of abandonment can actually turn into real abandonment, because you may try to push that person away from you before they abandon you. So that you've got the sort of advantage there. Well, you know, I push them away, then I don't have to go through that fear of being abandoned. A pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized by alternating between extremes of idealization and devaluation. And that's what I talked about from the diagnostic manual. So your relationships with people may be so intense that you think, wow, this man is my soulmate. I've known this man previously. You may have had some physical encounters with the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever orientation you are, that have been really intense and like, wow. And you think this person and I are supposed to be together. Or your relationship with that person may be so unstable that you don't know how you are going to react to them day by day, and you may decide not to see that person at all. I remember soon after my ex left me, I went through a really tumultuous time. My father had passed, and then 2 weeks later, my ex left straight after the funeral. And so I was just in limbo. I had no car. My car had blown up in the December before he passed. So I inherited his car, but then as I was changing the car over to my name, the paperwork got lost in the post. So I had to sawn the car, which means basically mark it off road, which means that I couldn't drive it. And the police station is just around the corner from me, so I wasn't even going to risk it. So I had no vehicle. I had to cancel a whole load of doctor's appointments and so on because I couldn't attend. These were at the hospital, and I lived on a bus route, but I didn't know the bus route, which way I was supposed to go on the buses. And that anxiety of like, I've got to get on a bus, I've got to use public transport, I don't know how to get there. That is that anxiety, that paranoid feeling, that feeling of I can't do it. And so you just sort of sit in this space and cry and become so emotional with it. So yeah, those relationships can sort of up and down. And I remember going to meet some friends for coffee who I hadn't seen one of them for quite a while. And the first thing she said to me was, "We're not going to talk about him." What? You're my friend. You know, that's something that friends do. I sat and had my coffee because I was so shocked. I didn't know what to do. And then I left. I've never seen that person again, never had contact with that person again. You don't shut people down when they've been through traumatic experiences, not only of, you know, my dad passing, but my ex leaving, having no car, the, you know, being unsure of my house. I was in such a bad place. You've missed a few things, my love. You'll have to go back over it later, but I will upload this so you will be able to see it. So you get to this point where you are, all these things happening, just pile on, pile on, pile on. Now, to a normal person, that's going to be stressful. To a person who doesn't have mental health issues, that will be stressful. To a person who does have mental health issues, it is 10 times, 20 times, 100 times worse. Then we have identity disturbance, markedly and persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. So you look at yourself in the mirror and you think, I absolutely hate you. You are a horrible person. You don't deserve to be here. Those are the sort of thoughts that I used to have. Now, there's a simple way of getting over that. And one thing to do is look in the mirror and say, you are amazing, you are gorgeous, and you've got this. There's an app that I used called Finch. Well, I still use it every day. I love it. It's a little birdie. And he comes in colours, and you can buy all the different sort of outfits for him. And, you know, he comes in different colours, and I forgot to put my nose ring back in. When I'm running, I take it out because if I blow my nose, I've lost so many nose rings with the tissue, and I'm not bending down to pick them up when in the forest. So you have this feeling that you are horrible, but then on another day, you may feel like you're the queen of the world or the king of the world, and like, I'm better than everybody. So again, you're going between these two sort of imbalances. Going over the 5 signs that might indicate bipolar. It might trip, but bipolar doesn't just last for a few hours. It lasts for days or weeks. Okay, so I am going to be discussing bipolar in the future. It is in the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual, and that's actually the first thing I went to look at when I got this, but I'd already looked online at the OU library, which I have access to, and I'll have access to it 5 years after I get my degree. But, you know, every psychiatrist or psychologist needs this. It's, you know, I can sit there in my living room and think, right, what am I going to look up today? Because that's, you know, what my job is going to be. Then we have impulsivity in at least 2 areas that are potentially self-damaging: spending money, intercourse, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating. Okay, spending money for me was not a massive issue, although I did used to have a tendency of buying a lot of CDs. Like, I'd go into a CD shop. This was when I lived in South Africa, because, you know, music there was, you couldn't buy it in the normal store. You had to go to a proper store that had like what we call an import section. And so I'd buy like a stack of CDs like that. Intercourse, I'm not going to say any more, but yeah. Substance abuse, yeah, been there, done that. I hardly ever drink now. And Andrea will know the last time that I had a drink, I felt absolutely awful the next day. I was supposed to be teaching yoga, and it didn't happen. I did not get out of my camp bed. That substance abuse can be any substance. It can be painkillers. It can be cough medicine. It can be illegal substances as well. Reckless driving. Yeah. Binge eating. I eat when I'm stressed. And it can also be, bulimia can also be linked to borderline personality disorder as well. Not anorexia, completely different disease. Recurrent, unaliving behavior, gestures or threats or self-harming behavior. That is true. And it recurs over and over again. One of the first thoughts that you may have when something triggers you is, I'm going to unalive myself. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm not worth this. I'm worthless. Nobody loves me. You know, and you may threaten this to other people. Well, if you don't do this, I'm going to unalive myself, which obviously is controlling, coercive behavior. It does happen. And this is why a lot of people with borderline personality disorder have incredible difficulty in staying in a romantic relationship. Affective instability due to a marked reactivity of mood, for example, intense episodic dysphoria, irritability, or anxiety, usually lasting a few hours and only rarely more than a few days. So you've had a bad day at work, car broke down, you lost your bank card, all these things happened, you get home, and the first thing you do is have a bottle of wine. Not a glass of wine, a bottle of wine. And then you have another bottle of wine. And throughout that, you are just streaming tears. You're angry. You are just in this place that you will not be able to get out of. And your crutch is spending, is going out and having intercourse with random people, you know, alcohol, other illegal substances. That is your way of coping. How many of us have gone out after a bad day? And I've done it a million times. Like, I just want to get out of my head. I don't want to live in my head anymore. There's too much stuff going on here. And that behavior, it cycles and it comes back, but it only lasts a few days or a few hours. Whereas with bipolar disorder, it can last a very long time. You can be in that cycle for a very, very, very long time and rack up huge amounts of debt. A lot of people that I belong to a bipolar support group, and a lot of the people in that group have racked up so much debt, have lost their homes, have lost their cars, and so on. So the spending level for bipolar disorder and borderline are sort of a little bit different. Let me read some comments. Oh, you were very concerned about me being in the tent. Yeah, I just felt awful. I can't do it like I used to. Andrea, can't do that anymore. I'm just too old for it now. And especially now that I'm training all the time, and the vast majority of what I drink is water. I don't really drink fizzy drink. I can't because of my hernia. And it's like 1 or 2 cups of tea a day rather. Elle, you went on a few hypers and was definitely on a spending spree. The thing is, at the time, I was only buying CDs and DVDs. Probably is you'd have to slow down to watch them, so didn't buy. I'd probably spend like crazy now on clothes. Yeah, I went through that, but because I'm losing weight, I'm like, I'm not buying anything else because I'm going to buy it and then, 6 months down the line, it's not going to fit me anymore. So what's the point of me buying something that I really want only for it not to fit? But also, there are a lot of tools that I have worked with to get through that. And that's what I want to talk about in a minute. Chronic feelings of emptiness, as I said, this melancholy, and you don't know why you're feeling that way. There is no cause. There is no trigger for it. You just feel empty, lost, alone, abandoned. And it's that abandonment that we talked about at the beginning. Oh, you fell asleep, Billy. No problem. I had to restart because at first my computer was buffering. Everything was buffering. So, but you can always go back and watch. Put me on Mickey Mouse speed. So yeah, that feeling of emptiness, inappropriate, intense anger, or difficulty controlling anger, and that can happen anywhere. It can happen in a work situation. It can happen when you're out of an evening. It can happen at home. You may find you're angry at home and you break things around you. And then you realize, I've just thrown my phone at the wall and I can't afford a new phone. Or, you smashed all the plates in the cupboard. I used to have a collection of plates that didn't match and glasses and things, and I used to go and smash them outside. There are ways of doing that to release that anger, but there are also other ways of doing it. My therapist wanted me to throw a pillow at the ground when I was in her office. I'm like, I'm not doing that. She said, why? I said, because if I do, I'll end up breaking other things. I said, I'd rather not get into that angry state, because I know that once I'm there, there's no stopping. L, empty, dissociation, depersonalization, derealization, absolutely, absolutely. And you sort of take it back to your worst day ever and the worst thing you've ever done, because most people who have borderline personality disorder have done very bad things and feel incredibly guilty for them as well. When I say very bad things, there's something I did as a kid. Linguini, mankini, fur eaty, tank squeaky, higher mate. Yes, you put the badger there. For those who don't know, Politics Social Channel and a couple of the other politics channels that we belong to, we call each other badgers. I don't have a badger, but I have a little hedgehog. So, yeah, the cousin of the badger. I've lost my train. Oh, yeah, that's it, right. When I was a kid, we had some friends that lived across the road. I was very young, and they moved away, and they decided to come and visit us. And there were two girls, the older one, Alison, and then the younger one. Now, Alison had an eye problem. Her eyes were very, the astigmatism that she had, it was really, really bad. So she couldn't see properly. And her sister. And they left a packet of sweets behind. So what did I do? I took the sweets, I didn't eat them, I took them outside and I tipped them on the ground. To this day, I still do not know why. I'm sharing something with you that I feel so embarrassed about, because they came back for the sweets and I got told off. But I still to this day do not know why I did that. Elle, you've got guinea pigs. They'll do. They're the same family as well. So that intense anger that you may feel, it could last, it probably lasts a few hours. Then transient stress-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms. So we talked about this before, the paranoia that you may feel that people are looking at you and you just want to hide. You may find that you don't go out because you're not happy with the way you look, or there's some other reason that you don't want to go out and see other people, but you feel this paranoid thing. What if this person knows that I do that? What if this person knows that I do that? How are they going to react? So if you've checked 5 or more of the above criteria, the criteria that I've given you, you may well have borderline personality disorder. Now, I'm not saying that you have it, because I'm not sat with you. I cannot diagnose you. Oh, I've reached my target for steps for the day. It's my arm movements that do it. There are also levels of borderline personality disorder. It's a spectrum. So you can have mild, moderate, severe, or extreme. And you can mark all of these that we've gone through as mild, moderate, severe, or extreme. So I'm going to go through them quickly. Frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. I've marked mine from moderate to severe. A pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized by alternating between extremes of idealization and devaluation. I mark mine moderate to extreme. Identity disturbance, markedly and persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. I marked myself moderate. Now, this was how I was feeling on the day that I marked this. Impulsivity in at least 2 areas that are potentially self-damaging. I put severe because, I felt that I was in probably most of them. Recurrent, unaliving behavior, gestures or threats, or self-harming behavior, I put extreme. Affective instability due to marked reactivity of mood, I put extreme. Chronic feelings of emptiness, I put severe. Inappropriate intense anger or difficulty controlling anger, extreme. Transient stress-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms, I actually put mild. Maybe I should have gone back and done it, but I'll leave it there for now. When you look at your responses, where would you put yourself on the BPD spectrum? I put mine down as severe. So if you are wanting to take a deeper dive into borderline personality disorder, something that you can work through yourself, I got this on Amazon, and it is a brilliant book that helps you through that. There's also loads of stuff online, and I was actually watching a video before the show, and I just I wrote down some notes. It's quite an old video, but it talks about dialectical behavioral therapy. So we have CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, and then we have dialectical behavioral therapy, and DBT is what works for people with borderline personality disorder. CBT may help a little bit, but not as much. What this is all about is trying to find a balance of the self. It takes a huge amount of work to do this, and you have to want to do it. You have to want to change. So I can't tell you to change. Some people don't want to change because they enjoy being a victim. I'm not saying that's you or anybody else. You may know somebody like that and think, okay, yeah, it means that I don't have to face up to having to change. Oh, Billy, bye, my love. Hope everything's okay. L, the self-image was impossible before I came out as trans. Now that progress has been cancelled out, now by hate towards trans, I'm back to self-loathing and reinforcement by hate words. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Bye, Billy. Pity that you have to go. Yeah, I understand that. But your situation has got an extra layer to it. The fact that you did not feel comfortable as that sex in your life. So you have transitioned, and now all this hatred, that's an external factor that's going on. So it's not stemming from you as such, as being, for example, a gay person coming out of the closet, what will the parents think, But this is now the fear of hatred if you go into a ladies' toilet, for example. That is a completely different sort of set of stressors on a person. Which, for example, I feel if I go into a Christian church, when I'm dressed as a goth or a witch and I've got my pentagram on, I've got my pentagram tattooed on my chest. So it's like, I used to feel uncomfortable. Now I don't. Now I think, I am what I am. But again, we had the burning times in the 1600s, 1500s, 1600s. But now this trans hatred that's going on is just, I hate it. I absolutely find it deplorable. So it's all about changing our own behavior and finding different ways to deal with the stress. So what happened to me this week? I'm going to quickly go through it because I know that a lot of you are going to go over to Darren's channel, Daily Blase. He's absolutely brilliant on a Friday. And don't forget, after Daily Blase, I think it's Aid Thompson, then it's Max Robespierre, and then it is Politics Social at 9:30. So if you want to, I know that you guys all know those channels, except Andrea, I know you don't, but a lot of them are political channels, so it may not be your cup of tea. All left-wing political channels, I will say. So this week, for me, there was fraudulent activity on my bank account. So I got a message from the bank, fraudulent activity suspected on your bank account, please contact us. So yeah, contacted them. Yes. Luckily, no money was taken. I was stressed because I only had 30 quid in my purse, and I know how long it takes to get a new card from the bank. So they're like, it's going to be 4 to 6 days for you to get the new card. So they then put me through to somebody else who tried to help me setting up a wallet on my phone. I'm a technophobe. So this setting up this wallet thing was a nightmare, and I've got 2 phones. So my old phone has my bank account details on it. My new phone doesn't. And because I couldn't remember my passwords. Again, technophobe. So I downloaded the app onto my new phone of the bank, and I downloaded the Google Wallet app, and it wouldn't show because it was asking for the details. So I checked on my old phone and downloaded the wallet, and it showed. So I thought, right, I had to cancel my grocery order because I have my groceries delivered because I struggle with going out in public into places where I don't know people. And shops, supermarkets trigger me because you do get some nasty people in the supermarkets. So I thought, right, I'm going to have to bite the bullet. I've got 30 quid, so I will go to the shop, just buy what I need, not the extras that I wanted, but just buy what I need. And then I'll try the wallet thing on my phone, see if that works. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I've got 30 quid cash and I don't look stupid having to cancel, some of the stuff that I've bought. My normal reaction to that situation would have been to get upset and angry at the person on the other end of the phone. And the thought was there. It was in the back of my head, angry because I've now been, there's a problem. There is no branch of my bank anywhere close by. And of course, everything's done online these days. Then the following day, when I went to go to the shop to do my shopping, the car broke down. As I pulled into the car park, got out the car, went to press the button to close the car, wouldn't close, wouldn't lock. So I'm like, okay, get back in the car, try and start it, nothing. Nix, nada, nothing. So I'm like, okay. The tears were in the back of my eyes. That anger was rising. And I was like, what are you going to do? The thought of me breaking the car was there. But then I'm like, okay, Debs, you are a member of the AA. Ring the AA. Pick up my phone, look at my phone. 14% power. Can't plug it in because the car's not starting, so there's no power. Haven't got my power banks in my handbag because I'd taken them out to charge them. So it's like, okay, I've got to get hold of the AA. So there I am ringing the AA, and they're like, get the message, press 1 for this, 2 for this, 3 for that, whatever. And then it's like, you may find it easier to go online and do this online. I'm like, I have no power. I need to speak to somebody because to do it online, it's going to take me longer than to speak to somebody. Then I got cut off, so I had to ring again. The power bar's dropping, and I'm like, FFS. Anyway, I got through to them, told them where I was. Luckily, quite a location that's well known, so I wasn't in the middle of Clumber Park where I normally go and run, and there is no signal there at all. No signal. So to be honest, I was quite lucky that it happened there. And then she said to me, it's going to be about an hour. And that immediate anger started to rise again. And I'm like, I can't deal with this. All I came to get was a few bits of shopping. I had no water with me either because I was only going to be 20 minutes. So I got no water, can't leave the car to go into the shop. So I'm just sat in my car, can't play games on my phone because there's only a certain percentage left. And I knew that the AA guy was going to ring me as well when he got there. So I sat with my door open because I couldn't, of course, put the window down. So I sat with my door open, and this woman pulled up next to me, and she was looking at me because I had the door open, and she parked sort of skew on her side. And I opened the door a bit more, and I said, wind the window down so I could speak to her. And I said, I'm really sorry. I said, but my car's broken down and I've got the door open because I can't put the window down. And she was like, oh, don't worry. She said, I wanted to park in a place like this because I have a problem getting out of the car and need the extra space. So it was like, wow, for once, another driver's not shouting at me. Then a woman was parked on the other side of me and she had a flat tire. So this whole thing was like, I'm never parking in that spot in the car park again. Never. I'll park somewhere else. So this whole situation would have been something that I would have completely lost it at, and I would have been self-harming. I would have got home and wanted to unalive myself. I wouldn't have even gone into the shop. I would have come straight home, and I would have, really, my day would have been completely ruined. But Gary, the AA guy, he arrived there within half an hour. He was absolutely lovely. The other lady next to me, she didn't have any AA stuff. And we were talking and she said, she's got a flat tire. So Gary said to me, this is how lovely this man was. And he got a really good review from me. He said, right. He said, you need to do shopping. I said, yeah. He said, how long are you going to be? I said, about 15 minutes. I didn't have much to get. And he said, right, he's going to change this lady's tire. And then he's going to, because it was my battery, the connection on my battery had gone. And I knew it was battery related. I just knew it. So the connection on my battery was loose. So he took the battery out, cleaned it up, put it back, put grease on it and everything, and tightened the connection up. But that whole scenario would have stressed me out so much in the past that I would have just completely lost it. Instead, I bought one of those little tubs of ice cream and ate that and made myself feel sick. So there's still that binge eating side of it. But I didn't lose my temper. I didn't let it ruin my day. So you can change your behavior if you want to, in order to get through the day when these things happen. And I know these things happen to everybody. It's not just me that it happens to. It happens to everybody. We all go through these things. But people with borderline personality disorder tend to react to it in a completely dysregulated way, that you just cannot deal with it. It's just, you feel like you are the only person in the world who becomes like that. And you know what? They call people Karens who react like that, and it may well be that those people have BPD. It may well be that they have BPD and they are just reacting that way because they don't know how else to react. So I'm going to go in a minute, guys, because I've gone over time and I'm going for a quick run, just a 1K. I call it a blast. I'm going to be going as fast as I can on the 1K, trying to build up my speed now because I'm too slow. So my homework to you is, if you do think you have BPD, have a look at Dr. Daniel J. Fox's YouTube channel, first of all. Then start journaling. Yeah, I know not all of us like journaling, but it does work. It really, really does. And look at your triggers specifically when you are working through it. Was I triggered today? Yes. What triggered me? Well, my landlady came around to look at the hole in my ceiling where the chimney is, and then she rang me 5 minutes before I was due to go live to say she's bringing around a dehumidifier for one of the rooms with damp in. And I'm like, I'm going live. Can you drop it off in the porch? Now, my normal reaction would have been, my borderline personality reaction would have been, oh, you can't drop it off now. And I would have been late and I would have been stressed on the live. And I just said to her, yeah, I'm just going live, so I'm not going to be able to, but I leave my door open for the cat. Inside door's locked, outside door is slightly cracked open for the cats to go in and out so they don't harass me all day. So she's left it there, and luckily it's not on view to the street. So there are ways that I have learned to cope with this behavior. However, I am very well aware that there will be times when it's going to happen. There will be times when something catastrophic will happen and I will end up having a strop, having that reaction. There are still those times as well when I think I don't deserve to be here anymore, and there's that thought of self-harm, of unaliving myself, and it's there in my head, and it's like, that's your first thought, is I may as well do that. And it's like, whoa, hang on, Debs, You know, whoa, whoa. That's not you anymore. Go for a run. Do something that feels good for you. Whether that is eating a chocolate, whether that is buying a new dress, whether that is going for a run or a walk, or painting a picture, or getting in the bath and having a nice soak, listening to gentle music, something that you really enjoy doing, do it if you can. So if you can, if you think that you have borderline personality disorder, have a look at those things. You are welcome to, I was going to say welcome to contact me, but you can't, because I need to set up an external email. So I will be doing that this weekend. It'll be one of the things that I do, that I'll set up an email for my YouTube channel, because I don't want everybody emailing me on my personal email. I just can't deal with it. So at least then I can, you know, only have it for that purpose. L, I stopped trying to please anyone years ago. If it pleases one another, we'll dislike. You'd be going back and forth, not doing that. A guy in a cafe, not doing that. A guy in a cafe to dislike me simply because he could see my tattoo. Yeah. Give them the finger. Yeah, I know I'm British, but I pull the bird because it's a South African thing, and I find it more offensive than two fingers. That's just me. Trip, people roll their eyes and huff for no reason. My cats do that. My cats do that. They go and roll their eyes. Scott, interesting stream. Thank you, Witchy. Laters and take best care. Thank you. You too, Scott. And L, a side note, worth watching the content of Essence of Thought channel. Making a note. Great, I will have a look at that. And just quickly before I go, I am doing a witchcraft series. What I started doing in the car was pick out my notebook and my pen and started writing my script for the first witchcraft video, which I'm hoping to record either over the weekend or next week. So I'm going to be doing a whole series on that. Obviously, if you're not interested in it, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to be. I've got other content to upload, more content coming on feminism, and I will be going live again on Sunday evening at 6 p.m. for my Stuff and Nonsense show, which is about stuff and nonsense. So it's just a bit of fun to end the week with. Nothing too serious. I try and find funny articles or talk about funny things that have gone on, or, you know, stuff and nonsense, basically. So if you can make a donation, I would really appreciate it. You can go to the first comment in the comment section here in the chat and click on that link. The chat will disappear as soon as I go off of live stream. So what I will do is, when the live stream is then back on, because it takes a while to do it and stuff, because it's not on my computer, it's on my phone, then I will pop that link into the first comment on that live as well. It's not a mental health channel. Yeah, I saw that. I'm guessing it's more esoteric, more spiritual, which is perfectly fine. So have a wonderful evening and a wonderful day tomorrow. Whatever you do, stay blessed, and remember, take care of yourself. Put yourself first, because there's only one of you, and you are the only person that's going to look after you. Nobody else will. Oh, it's a trans channel. Okay, no problem. I'll happily watch that. Doesn't matter. Beautiful people, have a wonderful, wonderful time. Hey, Text Meets, I didn't see you there. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Enjoy whatever you watch. If you do watch some of the channels that I mentioned earlier on, you might see me in the chat. You might not. I'm going to go for a run, and then I'm going to cook my dinner. So, love to you all. Blessed be.